Moving on, there are new questions tonight after ProPublica's latest expose on the Supreme Court that found Justice Samuel Alito taking a luxury fishing trip with the hedge fund billionaire Paul Singer in the summer of 2008 without disclosing it. According to the report, quote, Singer was more than a fellow angler. He flew Alito to Alaska on a private jet. If the justice chartered the plane himself, it could have cost more than $100,000 one way. Now, Singer would later have cases before the Supreme Court. One of those cases was a decade-long battle between Singer's hedge fund and the government of Argentina. In 2014, Justice Alito voted with the 7-to-1 majority that sided with Singer, resulting in a $2.4 billion payday for Singer's hedge fund. Before ProPublica's piece was published, Justice Alito was out with a rebuttal of his own and did so in the Wall Street Journal, saying, quote, I had no obligation to recuse in any of the cases that ProPublica cites. First, even if I had been aware of Mr. Singer's connection to the entities involved in those cases, recusal would not have been required or appropriate. Back to the panel. You know, there's first the Justice Thomas. Now there's this. Why is this playing out in the Wall Street Journal and in ProPublica and not in some ethics committee up on the Supreme Court where it's handled in that manner? To me, that's like the question here, because it's the powerful policing the powerful, is it not?
Well, look, the Supreme Court is our least democratic institution.
Yeah.
And we like it that way. That's how it's supposed to be. Is there's supposed to be a little, what do they say in the Roman Catholic Church, smells and bells. There's supposed to be a little magisterium around the Supreme Court. And we don't, Mitch McConnell is right. You don't want a Supreme Court where they're dragging justices by the lip down in front of Congress to dictate to them. And that's all fair and good enough. On the other hand, I am sure that Samuel Alito, a very, very smart person, knew when he got on a private jet to go to an Alaskan fishing retreat that this was probably not the wisest course of action.
Yeah.
And his rationale for it is fine, and he falls within the rules. But if you want to have the privilege of this magisterium, if you want to have the privilege of this remove, you better be cleaner than the Pope, right? You better live up to it.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because they're not policed by anyone, right? So you have to have the highest of standard, which is partly
yourself.
What you're saying. For yourself.
The term "cleaner than Caesar's wife." If you want to be on the Supreme Court, you better be cleaner than Caesar's wife, and you better pass up some fishing trips.
I think the last people we want actually regulating ethics and anywhere else is Congress. I think they failed time and again.
Okay.
And I think there's a huge irony that the person who's leading this Sheldon White House is the only member of Congress still part of an all-white country club in Newport, Rhode Island, and he's the one passing judgment on these justices. The reality is that Justice Breyer took more donor-paid trips than any other justice on the court. Where was the left complaining about Ruth Bader Ginsburg's husband being in a law firm that argued cases in front of the court? Well, she never recused herself.
You got Sotomayor and Gorsuch, their publisher that they're taking money from, and then on cases for that, right? So that's my
question, though. Why is it now? It's because the Republicans took control of the court, and now the left is looking to tear it down. That's what's happening.
Well, but the left's not bringing that to the attention of the
ProPublica.
I don't know who ProPublica is.
I assure you, it's not a right-wing publication.
Mark has a point there. Yeah.
Conservatives and Democratic-leaning organizations are talking about this. It's not a matter of them being Republican or Democrat. It's a matter of ethics and being higher than the standard if you're going to be on the Supreme Court. So I don't disagree with you. You need some reformation, but where does the reformation come from? It's not Congress. I agree with you there. But what you have to have either the ABA or some ethics panel within the Supreme Court to look at this. It's not about the matter of the law. I've advised clients on filling out these government disclosure forms.
What do you tell them?
And they can be difficult. Be overly disclose over the.
So here's what Samuel. Here's what Samuel Alito writes. Quote: When I joined, and this goes to Chris's point. Quote: When I joined the court, and until the recent amendment of the filing instructions, justices commonly interpreted the discussion of hospitality to mean that accommodations and transportations for social events were not reportable gifts.
Yeah, and that move by him to get out ahead of it on the Wall Street Journal was brilliant, in my opinion, because he wasn't going to sit back like the other justices have done. Yeah. He got out. He showed he was fearless. He explained it. And you know what? We're talking about his response. We're not talking about what was in ProPublica.
Last one.
Well, I just like all these people with private jets to know that the Supreme Court is no longer available for rides, but I am. I fly
Morgan and I will entertain. We will entertain. If you have us on, we can do shtick in the back. It'll be great. Yeah, absolutely.
Totally.
It's fun.
I'm free and I'm fun.
You can't comment on your trip when you can't come back on here and talk
That's right. Exactly. We won't say anything about anybody who takes us on a $100,000 fishing trip.
Morgan has the best story.
I'd rather have
got married inside the Supreme Court.
I'd rather have a $100,000 shopping trip.
Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.